Tyr, the god of war. Tyr, Tu, or Zu, was the son of Odin, and, according to different mythologists, his mother was Frigga, queen of the gods, or a beautiful giantess whose name is unknown, but who was a personification of the raging sea. He is the god of martial honor, and one of the 12 principal deities of Asgard. Although he appears to have had no special dwelling there, he was always welcome to Vingolf or Valhalla, and occupied one of the 12 thrones in the great council hall of Glads-heim. The hall glads-heim, which is built of gold, where are in circle ranged 12 golden chairs, and in the midst one higher Odin's throne. Balder Dead by Matthew Arnold. As the god of courage and of war, Tyr was frequently invoked by the various nations of the north, who cried to him as well as to Odin to obtain victory. That he ranked next to Odin and Thor is proved by his name, Tu, having been given to one of the days of the week, Tuesday, which in modern English has become Tuesday. Under the name of Zu, Tyr was the principal divinity of the Swabanes, who originally called their capital, the modern Augsburg, Zeusburg. This people, venerating the god as they did, were wont to worship him under the emblem of a sword, his distinctive attribute, and in his honor held great sword dances, where various figures were performed. Sometimes the participants, forming 2 long lines, cross their swords, point upwards, and challenge the boldest among their number to take a flying leap over them. At other times, the warriors joined their sword points closely together in the shape of a rose or wheel, and when this figure was complete, invited their chief to stand on the navel thus formed of flat, shining steel blades, and then they bore him upon it through the camp in triumph. The sword point was further considered so sacred that it became customary to register oaths upon it. Come hither, gentlemen, and lay your hands again upon my sword. Never to speak of this that you have heard, swear by my sword. Hamlet, Shakespeare. A distinctive feature of the worship of this god among the Franks and other northern nations was that the priests, called druids or godi, offered up human sacrifices upon his altars, generally cutting the bloody or spread eagle upon their victims. That is to say, making a deep incision on either side of the backbone, turning the ribs thus loosened inside out, and tearing out the viscera through the opening thus made. Of course, only prisoners of war were treated thus, and it was considered a point of honor with northern European races to endure this torture without a moan. These sacrifices were made upon stone altars called dolmens, which can still be seen in northern Europe. As Tyr was considered the patron god of the sword, it was deemed indispensable to engrave the sign or rune representing him upon the blade of every sword, an observance which the Edda enjoined upon all those who were desirous of obtaining victory. Sigrunes thou must know, if victory, Sigir, wilt thou have, and on thy sword's hilt write them, some on the chapes, some on the guard, and twice name the name of Tyr. Lay of Sigdrifa, Throp's translation. Tyr was identical with the Saxon god Saxnot, from sax, a sword, and with Heru, or Cheru, the chief divinity of the Cheruski, who also considered him god of the sun, and deeming his shining sword blade an emblem of its rays. This very sword, a ray of light, snatched from the sun. Valhalla by J.C. Jones. So that was Tyr, the god of war, the first section of Chapter 5 of Myths of the Norsemen by Helene A Guerber, Tyr. I will be working my way through this book section by section, and if there are any other public domain books that you would like for me to read, please leave a comment below. Did you enjoy this video? Then subscribe for more, and be sure to check me out on Facebook and Patreon. Thank you for listening, and have a lovely evening.